What up? What's good? What it do? What up with it? Wagwan, Watagwan, que ondas, que paso, however you say it from wherever you're from. Thank you for being with us. I am one half of the co-hosting team, and this beautiful lady over here is my other co-host. What's your name, ma'am?
I'm Liz.
And this is Marriage for Grown Folks, a safe space of sorts, a fun place, and a place that we love to talk about edutainment. If you subscribe to this idea of the institution of marriage and loving on someone and having them love you back in the good times and the bad times, and when you don't feel like it and when they don't feel like it, and when things get really tough, and when the kids drive you crazy, and you know, when money is funny and when money is hilarious and when money is great and things are good and things are bad, this is for you.
Yeah.
All right. We won't talk about everything, every single thing, because we can't do that, but we'll do our best to attack a couple of subjects. Hopefully we help you out. Once again, edutainment. Hope we entertain. All right. Let's get to work.
You
Let's
ready?
have some fun. What you got?
All right, temp check.
Temp check.
So I want you to name your, is it Achilles heel? So a characteristic that you wish you were just better at. Would that be considered an Achilles heel?
Not really. A character flaw, Achilles heel. You can say it many ways. You can say it a couple different ways. But yeah, that works.
Okay.
That works.
Yeah. So name a characteristic that you wish you were better at.
Sometimes I wish I didn't care so much. Yeah. I recently had a conversation which got heated, and then we were fine. But talking to my brother Drew. What up, Drew? And we were in a cafe having a blast. The Flying Biscuit, North Carolina. But we got into it, and I had to explain to him how at times I just recognize that the world falls on my shoulders sometimes. And I sometimes I don't get carried away, but I do bear the burden of more than just myself and my family. I believe that comes from my father. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's a man of the cloth, a bishop, a pastor, which means he cares for way more than himself, probably cares about other people more than himself. And as his son, I think I have gotten a bit with that same thing. So there are times that I believe that I just care too much, not just about people, but things all the way around, which can sometimes lead to a bit, some obsession sometimes. It goes a little deeper than passion. So for me, I would say that I guess sometimes I just care too much, while I feel like other people don't care enough.
But this is like specifically to like people that you care deeply about, right? Because I think you do a good job of going, not my problem. Right?
I do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
As I'm like, I hear that, but it's those few.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You want more? You're pushing me.
I mean, if you have more, go for it.
All right.
This is like all about me. Tell me about me, right? So
Okay.
Go ahead. We have to assume everybody doesn't know us.
Right. I think I'm doing a much better job now. But okay, my character flaw is I tend to want to fight before anything else. I think I have a very honest fight or flight response. I'm a fighter, and I believe that sometimes can get me in trouble. I shoot first a lot of times and then ask questions last or apologize later. So I believe that would be my character flaw. So if I was in a movie, you know what I mean, and I had a gun, there's a couple of bullets that people got that they probably didn't deserve. But, you know, I'll figure it out in the end. So that's my thing.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I naturally fight first, which can come off as very aggressive at times.
I'm glad you said it. I was thinking aggressive, but yeah.
What was the word you were thinking?
Aggressive.
Aggressive.
Yeah, I was thinking the same one.
Got it.
Okay.
How about you, man? What say you?
My character flaw is probably my impatience. It has gotten better.
Yeah.
Especially in this stage of rearing, like child rearing, right? But yeah, it's definitely impatience. When you're younger, you can be impatient and like sit in it because it doesn't necessarily impact anyone else. anyone else's emotions, nobody else's,
Right.
it's just your issue and you deal with it, right?
Right.
But as you become a caretaker and your impatience then will impact other people, your children.
Right.
I've had both of them at some point tell me like,
Mm-hmm.
Mom, I just don't get it, or I don't understand, and I have those moments of pause, right, where I have to like sit back and go, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
You haven't been here before. And because I get really irritated. My impatience turns into like,
It impacts you.
it impacts
others,
me.
which
Yes, it
it's
impacts me,
ultimately
but specifically with our children, they'll be like,
Yeah. I think it's interesting you say that, and I would probably agree with you. I think patience is one of the qualities or virtues that has time and empathy attached to it. People who generally don't do like well with time or their perception of time, they struggle with that. Or people who generally have a hard time keeping their feet in other people's shoes, not just putting, but keeping. I think patience is a thing. I think that becomes a thing. And I think I'm not perfect at it, but I have been told that I'm a very patient person. But once you get me there, good luck, because then I become hyper aggressive. Once I'm no longer, my patience has worn. That means you really pushed me. But I do try to I honestly try my best to exercise empathy as well as a level of, what's the word? Empathy, and what was else? And I think I have a good awareness of time.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think that helps me when it comes to the patience of people.
Yes.
But once you get me there, you did it yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think absolutely agree. Consider myself to be a pretty empathetic person.
Mm-hmm.
And I do often see things from others' perspective, or I try to take that into account.
Yeah.
In a lot of what I do. But I also, you're right, I'm better with time, but I haven't quite mastered it yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Sorry that one wasn't so fun.
I don't think it's a thing of fun or not fun.
Sometimes
I think
they're fun, yeah.
I think opening, putting the car in second gear and opening that, that emotional, it's cool.
Okay.
It's cool. I like that. I dig it. It made me think. I wasn't ready to think yet. Hadn't turned my thinking cap on yet.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I dig that.
Yeah.
And yes, you can be very impatient.
Oh, I know.
Be very impatient.
Without doubt.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm getting better. Yeah. Definitely trying to get better.
Two is better than one.
Okay.
All right.
What you listening to?
What am I listening to?
Sorry, I stole your thing.
That's fine, as long as we get it off.
Okay.
Right now, I took it back to Jonathan McReynolds, inspirational gospel space. He's got a fantastic voice, but he also has a fantastic pen. I'm not really sure who writes. I want to do some research, a deep dive. You know how I am when it comes to inspirational and gospel music. If you're just quoting scripture in harmony, you're going to turn me off. I need you to help me with my life. I need to hear something that, that reflects something that might help me. But just scripture and, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 part harmony and screaming and hollering and belting, not going to get it for me. So I'm actually kind of, I got to check Molly too. Remember Molly Music? Isn't he due for one?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Isn't he due for one?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And then on the other side, I think I missed out on Elzai's project in 2024.
I don't know who that is.
Elzai is an MC from Detroit.
Okay.
He's a monster. He was a part of Slum Village, the later version of Slum Village.
Don't know that version.
That's when Dilla left.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he was the MC. He was the MC, Elzai. So I don't know how I missed it, but it released in 2024. You know how I am about my hip hop and my rap. I like an MC. I like a dope beat, but I think I missed it. So I was able to get that, and I'm happy about it. I'm always happy about my Elzai.
How do you spell Elzai?
Elzhi. Elzai.
ZHI?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
See, I would have had that wrong.
What'd you think it was?
ZAI. That's what I was thinking.
That would work though.
Yeah.
That would work. Yeah,
well, I'm just saying, like, if I were looking to, like, if I wanted to research the
right,
music. So,
right.
okay, Elzhi.
Yeah. So Jonathan McReynolds and Elzhi.
Okay,
That be me.
cool,
It is what it is.
cool.
What you listening to?
Cleo Soul.
Hey, minister, reverend, sister, missionary.
Oh my goodness, I've just been doing a deep dive with her as of late. She went on
Powerful.
tour. I almost thought I was going to see her, then didn't. When she was in LA, didn't get to it, and I was like, I feel like I know the songs that Steven plays.
Right.
I don't really.
Sunshine, you make me feel.
I'm not going to sing because I can't.
Right. Well, I'm going to stop singing because there's legalities behind that.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't own that music.
No, you do not. But we love
yeah.
Cleo.
Cleo is and she's so young.
Yes.
How about that? Isn't that interesting? Right now, like Cleo Soul, the El Means, who we love so much. And I know he's working. When he gets quiet, he's working.
Right.
And he hasn't been touring that heavy. But when he gets quiet, that means he's working.
He was out here and
Right.
we tried to get in and couldn't get in. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Still a little.
Brother Abdullah. That's Brother Abdullah. But it's interesting how these young people are so attached to their spirit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So attached
grounded.
to their spirit. So rounded and grounded. Rounded and grounded.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's what connects to us. It probably shows how old we are too. There's time to dance. There's time to shake your butt. You know what I mean? But there's also a time to be fed. And I like to be fed no matter what the genre. If you feed me, you feed my spirit, I'll tune in. You know what I mean?
I also think there's a level of self-awareness, right, that we have as we're becoming older and just understanding certain situations. Like, I can see this before it actually totally plays out, right? And so when we see young people producing such wisdom, just having this great way of just being insightfll,
right?
It's like, dang, how did I miss that, or why didn't I know that?
I think you
better?
are where you are when you are.
I know that to be true, but
you are where you are
just
when you are.
And reflecting on certain things, I'm just like, wow, you're 23,
right?
How?
You know what though?
How do you have this much wisdom?
It just goes to show you that type of wisdom. There's no true
age
or gauge, right? But I will say, for me, this, the artists that I generally gravitate to are generally artists who, like I said, they do something. They feed me in some capacity, whether it's my sensuality, whether it's my sexuality, whether it's my mental. You know what I mean? You're coming from my mental. You are, you're talking about a cause, or you are articulating something that might be abstract but still beautiful. You know what I mean? Via your pen, like my girl from Hiatus Coyote. You know what I mean?
Oh, she has a beautiful voice.
Beautiful voice, but she can write her behind off. It almost reminds me of Stevie Wonder's pen. But that's me. So
what's
if you
her
don't,
name?
I don't. But if you don't grab me, I'm probably not gonna tune in. So like Elmine, Cleo, who else does a good job?
Naipalm.
Is
her name.
Naipalm. She's a monster.
Her voice
Hiatus
is
Coyote.
beautiful. Yes.
Hiatus Coyote. It was funny too because there's a connection to all of that almost. You know what I mean? You got Hiatus Coyote, and I read the J Dilla book, Dilla Time. And they are direct descendants because they bonded over their love for J Dilla. And I think they're in New Zealand or Australia.
They're
right?
not. Yeah.
And they bonded. Now, meanwhile, he's from Detroit, and he had a group called Slum Village. And there's Elzhi, who, you know what I mean. So so Dilla is the connector for a lot of the things that I love sonically. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right, let's have some fun.
Let's
get it out of second gear, put it in third gear. Shoot It Straight.
Shoot It Straight.
Shoot It Straight is one of our favorite. What is it? What am I missing? Pieces. Segments. That's the word. Segments. Shoot It Straight. It is a flyover, if you will, of some of the things that might be pop culture or might be in the mainstream and might be hitting your earlobes and your eyeballs, and we will sound off on it. And we are not here to hurt, but we're just giving our opinion. Marriage for grown folks. We are two married folks, 19 years almost.
19 in June.
19 in June. right? We're not here for clicks and all that. So, but stuff is happening, and we sound off. So we agreed to spend our segment on one thing.
We're going to stay hyper-focused on one topic
thing.
today.
But there was no way that I didn't address the thing that's in the air right now. And that is everyone's favorite personality right now, Shannon Sharpe.
Oh, what happened?
Shannon Sharpe is now being accused by a young woman who he had a relationship with, a very young woman, I might add, very young woman.
Younger than 18?
No.
Okay, cool.
She was just above 18 at the time of this engagement, so to speak. But legal nonetheless. So she wants some money. She wants $50 million because she feels that she was sexually assaulted. And who's representing her? Who? You guessed it.
Who?
The same homeboy, same dude from Texas, I believe, that was going after Hove. Isn't that interesting?
An agenda.
Right.
Is that the right way to use it? That word?
No, no, but kind of. He's not pushing an agenda. He's not trying to get something out. He's trying to collect some money.
He's not trying to get something out?
Oh, yeah, he wants some money. But that's not an agenda. An agenda is if I have an idea, a concept, a way of life that I want to subconsciously throw out at someone. So now you've watched an episode of something or you're wearing a T-shirt that means something else. There's my agenda that you didn't even feel. I put it out there and now it gets broadcast to the world.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, here he is again. And allegedly Shannon Sharpe. But he's already released some stuff. He's fighting back. Yes, of course, when it hits our ears, it's already happened a while back. And as you know, Shannon Sharpe right now is up for a potential $100 million podcast agreement or contract.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that interesting how the things happen when they happen? He met this young lady, allegedly, at the gym. They had a consensual relationship, which sounds like it was sexual in nature. I guess during some of their sexual encounters, it got aggressive. Shannon Sharpe is an ex-NFL player. That's a big boy, right? That's neither here nor there. Apparently, he had recorded a couple times that she hadn't consented to, and that he had basically, she's saying, the sexual assault, you know what I mean, which is almost like rape. So that's what she's claiming. She wants some money. Apparently, before it got to us, he offered a settlement. The settlement was not taken. The lawyer is now pushing for no, we don't want a settlement. We want the big money. And now Shannon is saying, no, you're trying to extort me. That's what we're not going to do. This was consensual. You might put out a piece of footage that he's willing to release, which might be 30 seconds of him. He says it might be gross. It might be gross. They was getting after it. Like they was into some crazy stuff.
So he's not denying.
He's not denying having sex with someone.
Right. Because
it might be in bad taste to be so young, but nonetheless, that they had this relationship years ago.
Okay.
It's even being floated out there that once he moved out of state, she followed suit. So all of these things have happened. She wants some money. Her name is out there. She's also an OnlyFans
model,
if you want to call them models, because there's more happening than just modeling on OnlyFans.
Not a model, but
yeah, they do stuff on OnlyFans. You just gotta pay to watch.
Yeah,
and it ain't just modeling. So there it is. What say you, ma'am, with the information you just received?
I was gonna say I didn't hear anything about this. When did this come out? Today?
Yesterday. Today?
Oh, I've been busy, but it feels like a trend. What I mean by that is like some of our women, our women. Is she black?
Oh white? No, she is not one of our women.
Oh, okay.
No, ma'am. Yeah,
okay.
She's not one of our women, so to speak.
Okay, see that was helpful because I didn't hear about any of this. But I think as women. Maybe wielding
you handled that really well.
As women, we're looking to like wield some power, maybe.
Okay.
And often sex is a nice angle. I don't agree with it. I'm just saying, I'm a married woman. It wouldn't make sense for me to attempt to wield it, with you. But I do think sometimes you got to pay to play, right?
There was some money. There were some money talks in there. There was some talk about potentially paying to have either breast implants or butt cheeks. Getting her butt cheeks done, because there was. I'm telling you, this is some of the verbiage via text.
She's not the one that
I don't
was
think
recorded.
I don't think she's like, no.
No, I don't mean it like that. What I mean is, wasn't there some sort of recording or something that came out maybe some months ago with Shannon Sharpe? Wasn't it him?
You talking about the other place that he was at, the Fox Sports with Joy Taylor and those people?
Oh, that was her.
Yeah.
That was Joy.
And Ocho? And
yes.
Yeah, Emmanuel.
Yes.
Ocho, I can't say his last name. But yeah, that's not him. He's no longer with Fox Sports. He's at ESPN. Disney. Dealing with this.
Oh, so this wasn't Shannon.
This is Shannon.
This is Shannon.
Yeah.
I get that part, but I'm saying before
that
was
to do
not.
with him. He's been gone.
Okay. See, I don't know why I thought that was him.
He has long been gone from Fox.
And like, is this her now wanting to pull that?
Absolutely not.
Back? Okay. Sorry.
Absolutely not.
Just getting some clarity. Yeah.
Joy Taylor is way older than 19.
Yes, I didn't remember who the person was. Sorry, I didn't remember who the woman was. So I thought, is she like digging in crates and let's let this resurface? But okay,
all right,
not the case. I guess my point, she's building power. This feels typical. It's not our people, and
not our people.
As in, like, it's not, I mean,
black girls are not as likely to do stuff like this. We're less likely to do stuff like this.
But just last week we were talking about what's his face, Anthony Edwards, and that whole thing, and she switched states and wanted to get she wanted to make sure she got her settlement or whatever it is, and if I move to LA, I do this. So it feels just crafty. It feels like this is what some women do, but that's because that is their way of wanting to, get their money, and it's pretty greedy. It's pretty, it's all of those things, but it doesn't feel.
Yeah. So let me add a little seasoning to help you out. Not to help you out, but I like because you're very inquisitive.
I have. I'm talking and I have questions.
Let me add some more seasoning now.
Okay.
Of course, the internet never forgets. It's like an elephant.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It has a great memory. Well, the episode of Monique on Club Shay Shay, there was a moment where she said, "You need to knock this off." Basically, I'm paraphrasing. You need to knock this off. You 50 some odd years old out here playing these games with these. You don't need no 30-year-old girl, no 20-year-old girl, no 30-year-old girl.
Oh, I remember her saying that.
Oh, so that has released. You know what I mean? And they are definitely playing that and replaying that. And he was like, "Why?" You know what I mean? Going off on like, "Well, why can't have me? You know what I mean? Why can't do me?" And blah 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 blah. And she goes on to say, "You need somebody, an older woman, you know what I mean, who can cook for you, rub them feet when you come home from work, and y'all can just love on each other and so and such." Well, that's been released. And in this context, it hits different.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
It hits different.
How old are his children?
I haven't a clue, but I guarantee you they're not 19, 20, 21.
They're older?
I'd imagine so. Boy, do I hope so.
How old is he?
Boy, do I think he's about mid-50s.
Okay.
Mid-50s, in fantastic shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic shape. And he's, by law, he's done nothing wrong legally. This is not a criminal case.
It feels like,
it's not a criminal case. But nonetheless, in the court of public opinion, you messing around with a 19-year-old girl in the gym is kind of wild. It gets pretty nasty.
But it happens all the time. It happens,
yeah.
Right?
And more, and they're saying because it's not because. In addition to him being old, it's also these young girls are punching up. They're looking for older men.
Strategy.
I didn't say that. Just so you know.
I am.
For those watching, she said it. I didn't use the word strategy. Strategy, you know what I mean? But I'm messing with you. So that hits different the way Monique says it. And as a married couple, that's why I brought it in here. We already had something that we were going to talk about for Shoot It Straight. But that's why I brought it to the table. And I'm just like, yo, real talk, who am I? You know what I mean? Played a little low-level semi-pro basketball overseas, built the company, you know what I mean? Here I am doing a podcast with my wife. I ain't perfect, you know what I mean, by no stretch of the imagination. But there's something to be said about having a wife, significant other, at the house while you go out and hunt and do what you have to do, you are going to be hit with something. That's just the nature of the beast. When you're operating in capacity like we are now, where we're talking, you're going to give some facts that might be incorrect. You might say something that will offend people. You might say something that will change the life of somebody or have that potential, right? But we mean no harm. Nonetheless, when you're in that light and you're in the public, you've got to move a certain way. And I move in a way that suggests that I'm leaving the house to go handle business. I'm working on my personal thing where I can go have fun. I'm working on that. I've been to therapy, like Martin said. I've been to therapy for this. I don't have fun. I'm working with that. Yes. I leave to hunt and I come home to my family. I'm working on that. But nonetheless, because I'm doing that, I avoid certain things. Mm-hmm. My wife at the crib. I'm not saying that every man keeps it real, every man doesn't cheat, and blah, 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 who's married. But what I'm saying, though, is it keeps you away from that nonsense, man.
But he's not married.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So it makes it easier when you find your significant other and spouse to go out and handle your business and be able to avoid these type of traps. Bring your old butt home. Find yourself a woman and someone who can love you the way you love on her. Y'all can do the booties. Y'all can look good together. She ain't got to be 45. She ain't got to be whatever, but find somebody, lock in so you avoid this type of stupidity is what Monique was saying. And boy, do I agree with her.
So I agree too, but I also think it's easier said than done, especially when you're having to sift through and figure out what women are like authentic and showing up as their authentic selves and the ones that are strategizing. So
I agree. I'm not fighting you on that.
And I think, you know, oftentimes, like I have a lot of friends who are like, I'm looking for my husband. I want, but the dating game is, I mean, it's easy to say like, oh, it's trash, but there's a lot of games being played, a lot of masquerades or facades. Like, so people are presenting and then you find out, oh, they got a whole nother story behind them. So I think it's easy to say like, he's got a lot of money. He, he keeps himself up. He's a person in like the public space, and so he is something to offer. But he'd probably say, well, I'm me,
move a certain way,
and I have to move. Yeah, I have to move a certain way, and maybe he doesn't want to be tied down. I don't really know.
Right? We don't know. I don't know. We don't know his situation. We don't know your life.
I don't know his life.
But I tell you what, though, there's a certain liberty, there's a certain freedom that you have when you got somebody at the house. This is something, God forbid, that I'll ever have to deal with. And
you're much more comprehensive. I'm not saying than him. I don't know him personally, but I'm saying like that is your rationale because you are much more comprehensive than, say, someone who's still playing games.
Right.
So I'm using that as, as a figure. It ain't nothing
a 19-year-old can do for me at 50 plus years old, or 20.
Got it.
Or 21 even, or 23.
Right.
Or 24. Usually within that, here we go with the sign. I don't know. But usually within that 10-year period is where you kind of want to be. You know what I mean? It happens. You know what I mean? It happened to our elders. I get it. I totally understand. But within that 10-year period, you're going to have lived a life where your significant other is going to understand. 10 years is really where it is. You know what I mean? Us 80s babies, there's certain things that we understand that the 90s babies don't. There's certain things that the 2000s babies not going to, you know what I mean? I get it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to throw the unequally yoked thing in there. But Lord of mercy, you know what I mean? When you think that a girl is that young, it only feels like it can be a conquest and a conquest only, which only makes me so my pushback would be, it don't even appear like he's looking for a woman.
Yeah, well,
and that's why I'm like, you leaving yourself out there, bro. I'm not saying you got to be on the prowl looking for one specific woman. I got to find me a woman. I got to look me. But I'm like, if you can find some security in what you're doing,
in a position in his position as a man, as we talked about this a number of times, right? Like your opinion has always been like, I knew who my wife was, and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know you had me in mind. I didn't know that, you know? And so there's power in that. Men are the ones typically asking the women for, you know, a hand in marriage. And so he does have power in that if he is deciding to find a wife or a partner, that he can, with his position, with it, like he's got something to offer. But that may not be his frame of mind right now. And maybe it will be once he gets all of this settled.
Oh, it's going to be an expensive way to learn.
I mean,
hard head make a soft behind.
Soft
is what they used to say,
behind.
right?
Yeah.
Hard head make a soft behind.
Yeah.
Even if it ends up settling out of court for whatever million, that's a lot of money to pay for some coochie.
And some young coochie at it. Some young, like, untrained, strategic.
Look, love who you love. You know what I mean? I know you hate it when he says this, but he's the one that always says, I love who loved me.
But apparently she didn't love you. Or she did, and you said, you used the word, what, conquest? No, you didn't. You said, what did you call it?
Sex?
No, yeah, you called it sex. No, what I'm saying.
That's what it was. It was a sexual relationship in nature. That's what it appeared to be.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So now, right, you're asking about how old his children are. Now I'm wondering, like, when this video does release, how much will people see? Whether it's 30 seconds. He's like, the 30 seconds they're going to show. If you're going to show the 30 seconds, show the whole thing. Because that 30 seconds is going to make me look crazy.
Well, and dare I ask, like, is he going to get the same backlash that maybe, like, Drea got from having a baby with a 20-something-year-old? She's almost 40.
Listen, stay tuned. Just stay tuned.
I'm just wondering if, like, the standards are different. Obviously, he didn't impregnate her. So there's, we're not talking about a baby. But I'm just saying.
Now there's audio coming out of how they be. I'm like, this is why this sucks, because it's not behind closed doors. So there's audio they have now of, not is it either audio or is it text message? All of it is out. There's a video, then there's audio, and there's text of their exchanges of how they was moving, which will probably, all jokes aside, he'll probably end up getting off, because some of this, you don't move out of state to someone who's abusing you. You don't go chase them. We know it happens, but if somebody leaves the state and you feel like you're being assaulted, you probably won't pack up and leave.
Or get closer to them?
Right.
Okay.
You don't get closer. So you got that, like some of the stuff they was talking, like the anal stuff, and like, you know what I mean? I think he was putting a dog leash on her. She talking about, I want a big black child inside of me, that type of deal.
Oh, wow.
Like, it sounds crazy. And what I'm saying is not to just be putting the man's business out there, but
it's already out there.
It's just like, now your children, going back to what I was saying, your children got to hear this stuff. That's going to suck. I don't care whether they're 7 or 17. That's going to suck.
Or 27 or 37.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Suck. But yeah, that's where it is. I hope, in my heart, it don't feel, I just don't feel in my heart like it's been bad.
It was
consensual.
It was consensual.
It's probably in poor taste to be chasing a girl that young, but it happens. It's legal. It does feel like, a frivolous pursuit on her part. It also feels like bad timing for him with this money coming in, just getting the ESPN gig. Him and Stephen A., I guess they have good chemistry. It's Walt Disney. You know what I mean? This ain't Vice or something else. This is Walt Disney, bro. So maybe he loses that job. Maybe he loses his endorsements. He's got his own stuff on the line here, and there's advertisement, wrapped up in some of this stuff.
Right.
So I hope it works out. I'm sorry. I hope no one was hurt. It doesn't appear to be a rape charge, but it does feel frivolous and it does feel a little funky. But now he got to go through it. See, first people kind of knew he was a freak. Now everybody know you're a freak. And you old. Knock it off.
I mean, I think people can be as freaky as they want to be, as long as everybody consents to said behavior.
Yeah. Said freakiness.
Yeah, said behavior.
Freaky deaky. Freaky deaky deaky.
Like, are you cool with it? Okay, fine. Then it is what it is.
Yeah.
But don't come back, you bruised up, or, your bottom hurting or whatever.
Dog leashes, dog? Dog leashes?
People have different fetishes. Like, who am I to judge what they trying to do?
Don't dog leash bash. See? We talked about this last week. Some stuff, this is crazy, yo. Some stuff is nuts. It is. Do y'all. Yo, jump off. Swing from the chandelier. Do your thing.
Whatever
do your thing.
Keeps you happy.
Right. You're right. Do your thing. So there's Shannon Sharp.
Yes.
God forbid I ever have that, but that must really, really, really suck. He got his professional career like on the line. I'm like, was it worth it? Was it worth it? All right. There it is.
Okay.
So what we really wanted to spend some time on is something that we really, really enjoyed. All right. We really, truly enjoyed this moment in this movie, Sinners. starring a bunch of people, but mainly Michael B. Jordan, and written and produced and shot.
Haley Stanfield.
Yeah.
Who else? Jack McConnell, I think his name is.
Okay.
Delroy Lindo.
Delroy Lindo.
And the Annie character's name, Annie in there.
Chocolate.
Yes.
British girl.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't think.
I can't think of her name.
She's got like an African last name.
Yes, she does. She does.
But yeah, great movie. A thriller. I don't know if it was quite a thriller. I think they probably undersold what it was in the thriller world. It wasn't a thriller. That was a flat out vampire movie.
It was.
Yeah, thriller is when two cops are trying to pursue some very elusive criminal,
serial
right?
killer of some sort.
And then there's a couple of jumps and
there were some jumps.
Nah, there's blood, gore.
Yes.
Yeah,
lots of
which
gore.
takes it somewhere else. I don't really subscribe to these movies. You won't catch me watching these movies often, and you will never catch my beautiful wife watching these movies.
Ever.
Ever.
Ever, ever, ever.
Never, ever have I.
Ever, ever, ever. I think it was like 1999, and my friends and I decided that we wanted to go and see I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, that was very popular for our time.
It was very popular, but here's the kicker. So I don't really watch movies, so I didn't know.
So you hadn't even seen the trailer.
I hadn't even seen the trailer. So I get there, and I'm like, wait a second. This is scary. I don't do scary.
But to my point that I always make for you, any movie that's not happy or whatever is scary to you. You put it in one category, scary.
Correct.
It could be a thriller. It could be a slow drama with one little jump. It could be gore. It could be horror. No matter what the genre is, anything that's not happy, you call
Scary.
scary.
Horror. Yes. I mean, I'm not even going to argue with you about it. What I'm saying is back then, I had determined that I would never go to a movie theater to see a horror, thriller, whatever.
Anything that's scary.
Yes. Yes. So the movie was scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
I strategically brought my scarf so that I could cover my eyes when I needed to. But the audio, oh my gosh, it didn't matter. I was like, I can't see this right now, and I'm still losing it. It was a great movie, though. It was a great movie.
What do you think was great about it?
Okay, so I appreciated the...
Oh, by the way, we are not some type of movie critics. It's not that type of show. It's not that type of podcast, but we can give our how we feel about something. We can give our, come on.
Yeah, fast forward this part if we're driving you crazy.
Right.
With our detail.
Are we supposed to say spoiler alert? By the time this reaches someone's YouTube, we're looking at 3 or 4 weeks into the movie.
I hope that you've watched it by that point.
So if you haven't seen it, that's your bad, bro. We about to get after it.
Yes. So, okay. So I always enjoy historical fiction. Okay. I love timepieces. I love things where I can go back and like check facts and check dates and go, ooh, this is authentic. I like this. I like to do deep dives. So Sinners offers that. It's Mississippi. So Delta is the Delta area.
Mississippi Delta.
Yep. Thank you. Mississippi Delta, 1932. And so there's a whole lot of intentional history in this. And so it sets it up in a way that you're like, ooh, Asians down south. Wow. Very cool. Yes, and then they're tapping into like church culture and growing up, with certain characters and kind of the influence or juxtaposition of blues, Mississippi Delta area as well. And so everything felt really intentional. I loved that about the movie. I also loved, dare I say, that when I went...
And Michael B. Jordan was in it?
So I was going to say that last, but there were 2 of him. 2 of him. Bring the camera back to me. There were 2 of him. That was amazing.
Are you done?
And anyway, I didn't like that his hair was combed back, but that is also in like, it's valid for the time. So it was cool. It was cool. I appreciated it. He's always good to look at.
Eye candy.
I love it. Anyway, so there were two of them though. Did I mention that?
You mentioned that, bro. Move on.
But no, what I was going to say that I really appreciated was that the little bit that I know about vampires was really accurate. So I went back, and what I mean by that is like with vampire pieces or movies or whatnot, there's like, you've got to have the garlic, and you want to kill something off, you got to get them right in the heart.
With what?
Wood steak, yeah. Right? Okay. So, and then you have to be invited in. You can't just like
invite them in.
Yeah, you have to invite them in. That's yeah. And what else is there? Like the blood. There's something about our blood that they. So those. It was a vampire story, and they really kept to that, and I appreciated that as well. Because if I'm gonna watch it, like make it be good, you know, or authentic. And so I didn't. It didn't get so like sorcery or fake that it felt, you know, like, oh my gosh, here we go. It wasn't Michael, remember Michael J. Fox's werewolf movie like back in the day?
Teen Wolf?
Teen Wolf, thank you.
It's a classic.
It wasn't
You
like
need to watch
that.
your mouth.
I know it's a classic, but it was kind of punny, like fun and, you know, whatever.
It was more comic than it was.
Than it was like scare tactics
like Vampire
and whatnot.
in Brooklyn.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep. So last piece that I absolutely enjoyed was the music in the movie. I think it was just a huge like reference to blues, and it kept to that, but also thinking about like the Irish and the river dancing and all of that other stuff that was happening. Like I was like, oh wait, I don't like musicals, but this feels like it could be a musical. And so while I'm covering my eyes because I'm really like caught up over what's happening in front of me and I can't take but so much of it, I could still listen to the music and be like, okay, this is good. So anyway, yeah, those are like main things that I loved about it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I think for me, I like art, right? I like art, and I like how it's not easy to articulate what your vision is, to take something from your heart that's in your heart, you know what I mean, and stirring in your mind and be able to push that out and through whatever, you know, whatever platform it is, you know, whether it's, you know, dance, whether it's song, whether it's, you know, film, whatever it is, you know, that you're doing. So to see how thoughtful he was, you and I both love, you know, historical references, you know, timepieces, so to speak, Shawshank Redemption, you know what I mean? Capturing a moment, capturing a time is not easy. Articulating and character development mean a lot to me. You know, you start missing out on those things and you lose me because I'm like, I don't understand where you went. I don't understand that. Or why did he do this? Why did he do that? While also recognizing that you don't want to spoon feed people things. Right. That's just boring. Right. You know what I mean? If you got simple-minded people like that, they shouldn't be watching. Right? And especially a piece like this. It's extremely thoughtful, extremely well thought out. And then, once again, you know, hearing that he used certain cameras, specific, you know what I mean? Specific, like a detailed, like I really want to capture this in a way that people should watch it, you know, the way that they should hear the music. I like the new boy that they introduced. I can't think of his name. He's going to be a star, obviously. You know, he's going to be a star. The characters that he chose, obviously, you know how I like the idea of us taking care of us. Whenever you see American Gangster, whenever you see Gladiator, Russell Crowe, you know what I mean? That's his guy. He always uses the same, what's my man's name? Russell Crowe. Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott always uses Russell Crowe. That's his guy. Now it appears that we've got this for Coogler. Coogler's going to be using Michael B. Jordan. He used him in Fruitvale Station. He used him in Black Panther. He's now using him again. Creed. And I like this, you know, creative partnership they have, them being black as well. I like to see the connection between like Lindo. Lindo's been in over like 30 plus films. He's no rookie. But for him to be involved in a project like this alongside of Michael B. Jordan and some of the younger cast is really cool to see as well. I like that. But there's another piece that I want to express too. It's the taking of certain genres and connecting the dots in one to tell a story. Because you can tell a story through Westerns. You can tell a story through horror. You can tell, Jordan Peele has proven that. You can tell a story through action, through documentary. But to be able to take musicals, he took a little bit of a musical. He people are trying to kill him, saying that it's a little Dusk Till Dawn. He's paying homage. He's paying homage to the movies like that, the quintessential vampire movies, holding true, not giving them more than what they can handle. You know what I mean? Got to get it done before the nighttime. It's got to be garlic, all of these things. Using the historical Mississippi Delta, which I'm not privy to. We know down south. We all know, what how they paint it in movies down south, certain times, slavery, whatever. I also appreciate that it wasn't just specifically about race, because it's Mississippi Delta, 1932. You don't even have to talk about it. It's implied. It's in the fabric of what it is. So I don't need to take a whole 2 hours and give you that. It's here, right? Utilizing the girl, the very, 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 very fair-skinned or white girl, but she's very, very fair-skinned, talking about her
1/8.
Yeah, 1/8. How that works and how how they're embedded into the culture. Once again, the Irish, dancing, how they introduced that, and how that's just as much a part of that culture down there as anything else. Two brothers who had seen the world. This is post-slavery. We're talking about not just slavery, but sharecropping and what that looked like for people coming off of that. So it was so riddled with things. I'm sure we'll get more Easter eggs somewhere as people are now reviewing it all over the place. But I really like the intentionality behind the project. I'm not about the scary movies, as you say, too. That's not my thing. But I thought this connected all the dots. And I think he's a star on the rise, is Ryan Coogler. And I'm glad that he's executed something in this moment where people are probably walking away from movies as of late, staying at home to watch Apple TV and different things, whatever. Nah, you got the experience.
You have to see this in the theater.
You got to see this in the theater because he shot it for theater purposes.
Right.
So, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I'll probably see it again without you.
No, I want to go back, but not at night. That's it. I want to see it again.
I'm going to say it again, and I know it means nothing to you. You do realize that inside the movie theater, it will be dark.
Yes.
But you want to leave the theater and it be light outside.
Correct.
Just in case the vampires are out there?
Correct.
Got it. Got it.
Did you see how many times I looked behind me when we were walking from the theater to the car? We did an 8:00 showing. Why so late? Not totally
8
sure.
8:00's not late. It's prime time.
It was 8:00 and it's a 2-hour movie.
It's prime time.
And what is it? What do they call them? The reviews? No, the trailers. The beginning.
All the trailers all about that type of
45 minutes easily.
It wasn't 45 minutes.
It felt like it. It felt like our movie didn't start until 9:00. We didn't get home until almost 11:30. I was stressed.
Why? It's a movie.
Yes, but it lives in my head for a long time.
Maybe that's where our daughter gets it from.
It lives in my head for a long time. Yesterday, that's why I didn't go on social media. I was busy rehashing the movie, playing it over in my head, the parts that were so gory. And yes. Can we talk about when Preacher Boy performs?
Heck yeah.
Because that scene was like top tier.
Okay.
Top tier.
Yeah. He nailed it.
He did.
He nailed it. Obviously, I like how they threaded in that he was ended up being, what's the blues player? Guy, whatever his name is. This is not fit. This is, what I mean? But anyway, I like how they connected the dots on that. I liked how they like you said, they introduced him. When they introduced his character and how well he played, but we didn't know he could sing.
Right. So cousins didn't even know.
Right. So once you heard him sing, and even the way, I don't know which one, I don't know if it was Stack, I don't know which brother it was that was in the car when he...
Smoke was handling things by himself.
Yep.
And then Stack and him were together.
Yeah. And I liked, So, we can talk about that, though. That was a very vivid scene.
That scene of, like, the progression or the evolution. So it was, like, past and future.
That could have went awry.
Of the music, it was, and to have so much representation in there. They had DJs, they had women twerking, they had what was it, like the Native American and like in like their headdress, and they were dancing. Yeah. They had the not voodoo, but the African. Thank you. So it was, in regards to like ancestry, and then so it was just like the song was playing and it kind of like transformed in some ways. And so then it was like, oh, wow, like he's going into the future because it had like a hip hop kind of beat at one point. And then I was like, oh my goodness.
In that moment.
Gave me chills.
Right. And it was it could have go awry. Because to try to articulate that. Once again, from your heart to your mind, to write it and then to tell other people how to do it.
Right.
Not only do you have to get the right characters to play it, you got to make sure you don't negotiate, with any type of like, this is the way it has to hit, or they'll make fun of you. But even more so, thinking about the production, the music production, whoever he worked with had to hear it too. Like in that conversation, no, that's not it. That's one of those moments where it's got to be, no, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. That's it. That was fantastic.
Yeah, it was, and so I spent a lot of time yesterday just reflecting on the movie, but also listening to some interviews, hearing Ryan Coogler like speak.
LA boy.
Bay Area. Sorry. Yeah,
Cali
he's from
boy.
Bay. So just listening to him speak about how this story is so connected to him and his own life. It's very personal. So all of these things were intentional and whatnot. But it was really interesting to hear him. And I watched a lot of videos. I want to name, and I don't want this to feel like it's going left, right? But as you're talking about communication and having this ability to do that, he is absolutely gifted because like when he speaks.
Right.
He stutters. And so it was really interesting to me. Like, this is a God-given talent because he can't necessarily have this interview and have it feel seamless or like he really minimizes his work.
He's not a master communicator.
He is absolutely in tune with, like, if you speak to him, if you hear him, right, he doesn't code switch. Yeah. He has his accent.
That's what he is.
The Bay, he's from the Bay. This is who I am. He doesn't sound like he's not intelligent. It's not that. But like, this is not natural for him. So for him to have this ability to sit and communicate in a way, or create this work, this art, and have it be so layered and still be able to put it out there with all of the, like, I can't say the words. I'm like, this is what I feel every time I be doing my Spanish lessons. Like, no, I don't mean it that way.
Right.
No, I meant it this way.
I meant it this way.
Or listening to somebody, like I would sit in my conferences and you listen to somebody and you're like, no, you translated it, but that's not how I meant it. And having that real frustration because you're not able to communicate a certain thing a certain way just because there's that block. But for him, again, just kind of going back to him, like, and having the ability to do that and do it in a way that, like you said, it could have gone way wrong, and it didn't.
It didn't. It hit.
It was
every
perfect.
Now and again you get it right. I think that works for all artists. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. The poets of our time. You know what I mean? Like, none of our guys are stupid. You know what I mean? They come from where they come from, and they live in that. Rakim is almost 60 years old. He is an artist, and he's not stuck in it. He is it.
Right.
Because you look at him like, are you playing a role? No, Rakim is there. He's an MC. He's the same MC he was when he was 16 years old because he's Rakim. But you think he's being funny. Like, is this guy for real because he's 60? No, that's Rakim. And I'm like, he's an artist. He's an artist, like Nas and Hov and these dudes. Like, these guys are able to put out something that you would never think would come from them. You know, you would never think that it would come from them. And I think that's beautiful to, you know, because they don't always hit it right. You know what I mean? Because once their art goes out, it's out there. It's subjective now. But sometimes it ain't subjective. Illmatic is what it is. Objectively speaking, it's one of the greatest projects we've ever heard. You know what I mean? So it's interesting that you brought that piece up, because I noticed that when I heard him talk too. I said, oh, he stutters a little bit.
He's got an impediment.
You know what I mean? I said, from a guy who used to stutter heavy, right? And I'm like,
And from a woman who has a bunch of like complicated mind there in my head, and I can't get those words. So it was really nice to see that, to see, not see the struggle, but to see the juxtaposition and how he's still able to portray and get that message across, even though, you know, with his words he has a bit of a challenge. So
there's our Sinners review. Once again, this is not that type of pod.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, straight up and down. Great reviews all the way around. No one's perfect, but man, that's a good movie to go see.
Not a perfect movie, but
that's
definitely
a movie to go see. It is not a slavery movie, even though you know how I feel about those. I think every 3 years there should be a new slavery movie. No, don't forget about it. No, right, just a reminder.
A reminder.
Yeah, no, we don't. No, we're not over it.
We need Black joy.
Yep. But we also need to know, like, there's other things that happen in slavery other than slavery.
Yep.
That's how we arrived here. Yep. It's more than just rape and pillage. It's a mental thing. And if you can articulate that through a story so we can hear other pieces of it,
do it.
By all means. And if it makes some people uncomfortable, even better.
Do it.
Do it.
Like
Let them see you do it.
Yep.
Braveheart. Awesome.
Thank you.
So there's our Shoot It Straight. We were a little long-winded, but man, we were moved by such an impactful and incredible piece of work. Well done, Ryan Cool. Hold on, come here.
Round of applause.
Woo! And if we spoiled it for you, go see it. You're bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Lead the way, ma'am. Silky segue. What you got?
Okay, so we are going to be talking about in-laws and in-laws.
Yay, in-laws.
And the family we inherit through marriage. Yes, that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get straight into that, let's talk about some of the stigmas, right? So oftentimes you marry into, you get married and you inherit the, parents and whatnot, right? And there's a lot of stigma around it. There's just, the mother-in-law, or this is what you've got to deal with, or this is who you're, and there's a lot of movies that portray that idea, or they perpetuate it, right?
All right. In a humorous way or a serious way.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what movies do. Yeah,
Yep.
They highlight.
They highlight it. So we thought, oh wow, this would be a great way to really just talk about our own experiences and how we've been able to manage that.
Right.
And the impact that it has had on our marriage. Because I think that there's
right
a lot of dimensions.
And we ain't the first ones. And that's why we exist, once again, edutainment. We exist by, we want to talk about it.
Right.
What are a few of those movies, man?
So we've got Meet the Fockers and Meet the Parents.
Classic.
Right?
Classic.
So overbearing, meddling parents. Dad was, Robert De Niro, right? Ben Stiller. He couldn't get anything right.
That was my first time ever seeing, sorry, I'm a movie nerd, so we just got to keep me on track.
I will.
But De Niro, that was the first time seeing him in a comedic role.
Oh,
and he nailed it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, he nailed
it. With his
dry.
But Ben Stiller is kind of dry too, right?
But he's not De Niro. De Niro was a...
No.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So they did that well.
Right.
They did that well. I couldn't help but feel bad for what was his name in it?
I have nipples. Can you milk me, Greg?
Oh, Greg. Thank you. Nurse Greg.
Gaylord M. Fokker. What was the M for? Whatever.
Keep
me
on
on track. I'm a movie nerd.
Okay, so we've got My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Classic.
Apparently, Dad was like...
Put some Windex on it. Use the Windex.
We use Windex for everything, right? Yeah. So that movie, Jumping the Broom, with Paula Patton and Laz Alonso.
Paula Patton.
Oh, you don't know her now?
Paula Patton. Who's Paula?
Here we go.
Patton?
So his mom.
I think Jakes did that movie too. I think he was the executive producer for that.
Oh, really?
I think Jakes did that movie.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of her name right now? His mom. Divine.
Loretta,
thank you.
Miss Loretta.
Love her.
Yeah,
Gotta love her, right?
Yeah.
But she was a tyrant in that movie. But a meddling mama. She played that role.
Boy, did she unearth something that needed to be unearthed, though.
Correct.
That's called good writing.
Yeah,
once again.
definitely. Monster-in-Law with Jane Fonda and Jennifer Lopez.
Never seen it.
So I think I've seen it once. Overbearing Mom.
Okay.
Yeah, Overbearing Mom. She was just like, again, you want to feel sorry for the partner.
Yeah.
So Jennifer Lopez. I can't remember who her husband was in the movie. Father of the Bride. That was a less overbearing and meddling. It was more.
So long since I've seen that movie.
So they have two versions. They're pretty much the same. There's a
1950s or 60s.
Yep. Okay. 1951. The other one 1991.
Redo.
It was a redo. And he was, like I said, that was milder. He was more so like, I'm losing my daughter. And so he was very reflective, less like antagonizing of her partner. And really, I don't think we even meet him until like the very last scene, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, so there's that. And then Guess Who with Bernie Mac, Ashton Kutcher, and your girl Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, B Mac. Bernie Mac is my guy. You know that. For those of you who don't know me, he's my favorite comedian. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm just saying he's my personal favorite. He shot it. He shot it straight. And sidebar, he wouldn't have survived in today's climate. They would have like canceled him.
You don't think he would have adjusted?
They would have canceled him.
Got it.
They would have canceled him.
Okay.
Somebody would have came for him.
Yes. So, yes, in that movie, again, Bernie is poor Ashton.
Yeah, but the underlying thing is they weren't she didn't tell her father. She didn't tell her black father that she was bringing home a white boy.
Yes.
That's gonna be tough.
But I mean, I think that we can always find like justifiable ways that we're not, quote unquote, going to be enough for our parent, or excuse me, for the other parent.
Right.
So
even though I see it the other way, but
what do you mean?
With our daughter?
Oh, you're talking about our children in particular.
I jokingly say
okay.
When they come in the house, I'm gonna tell these perspectives, good luck. Good luck. Our daughter, good luck with that, bro. Nice to meet you. Don't get it messed up. All right? Don't do nothing stupid. But good luck. And then our son, come on.
What?
That girl won't ever stand a chance with you.
Oh.
That young woman will never stand a chance with your baby.
I've gotten good training. Thank you so much. Therapy. Okay. And I have amazing in-laws.
So you want to make sure that you want to go in saying that you love your in-laws. I love mine too.
Well, I also want to give a slight disclaimer because I think that this conversation can get really messy. It can, right?
Oh.
If we're being authentic, if we're like, we're going to name like that there are flaws that we have that our in-loves have, right? And we're going to talk about those things. And our goal, our aim is never to hurt anyone. It's just to be very authentic with the audience.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know what was coming out of you. I'm like, what is she doing? What is she doing?
When I'm saying, like, I was thinking about the episode.
Is she trying to produce right now?
No.
But trying to executive produce right now? You got to run that by or something. No. Listen, we are not here for that. You know what I mean? And it's our truth. We're not here. This is like a therapy session for us. We're here to talk about things. And if you're going to talk about in-laws, it's going to be funny and there'll be some truth behind it. And we love them.
Yes.
We love them.
Yes, absolutely.
I love mine. You love mine. You know what I mean? We man, shoot. Let's get after it. All right. Let's get to it.
I'm ready if you're ready. Okay, so...
What you got?
So we think about like in-laws or in-loves, right? Mm-hmm. And so the term in-law is it's like the family that you build or that you inherit
mm-hmm.
When you get married.
Right.
In-laws is a term of endearment in some ways, right? Because now you have built a level of connection, social, emotional,
mm-hmm.
And so it's just that. It's like, yes, this is family that I inherited through my marriage,
right?
But also these are my parents now. These are my brothers
family,
now.
Bro.
This is my sister. Like you take on that, and it doesn't happen automatically.
It's not a seamless transition for everyone.
For anybody, I don't think it.
I think some people it's seamless. It just falls right into place. But we must not be
those
people.
That's not our story.
That's not our story.
That is not our story.
Yeah.
So I do think it's fair to say, or just to put out there, we have known each other since we were really young.
Yeah.
Right? So
14, 15 years old, baby.
The majority of our life, we have
together.
known each other.
Right.
And so you would think that it would be more seamless for us.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was for you. I don't know. It wasn't.
It just was what it was. But go ahead. I'm letting you lead. It just was what it was. It's not like I've been married before. So it was just like, it is what it is. What I'm going to do now?
Well, that's really interesting because, no, it wasn't seamless for me. I had a lot of...
Your sister been my sister since. You know that's been my girl. She's been my sister forever.
And maybe it's a female thing. Maybe it's a woman thing. I don't know. That wasn't a truth for me.
Yeah, that was my girl. She been my girl. I didn't see no other way. Whether we didn't work it or not, that was going to be my girl.
Okay. Well, shout out to Angela.
It's Angelina to me.
Angelina. Okay. Oh, yeah. So when I think about my in-laws, I don't refer to them as in-laws now, right? I've got 3 of them. I have mom and dad, and then we have Nana. We have your mom, right?
Naninsky.
And so when I think about their relationships, I remember we got married. We were the first ones in your nuclear family and my nuclear family, right? We're the eldest. So we were the first ones to get married. I remember soon after your mom and dad were just like, you can call me mom and dad now. And I was like, so how many years passed where I didn't even say I didn't call them anything.
You would just start talking to them.
I would just look.
You would just look at them and just start talking.
Yes.
Awkward.
It was so awkward, but it was also really awkward to me that they wanted me to call them mom and dad respectfully. Like it was just I didn't know that type of love, dare I say? Or that type of acceptance, maybe. I don't know exactly what the right word would be, but I don't think that it was just that automated for me.
Oh, so you were dueling with something. You just don't know exactly what it was at the time.
I think I was dueling with a lot of things.
Right.
But also, for me, family can feel really complicated. And
me.
Right. So
Right.
family can feel really complicated. And because of that, here we are, it was just us. We didn't bring children into a space or anything. So it was just us trying to find our way, to figure out our rhythm. And I mean, call you mom and dad.
I'm sure it's understandable, and I'm sure you're not the only person who's ever
right.
been there before.
And again, I also, like I said, I was dealing with some other stuff. I think we talked about it on a past episode, right? When we first moved in.
Go check out one of them episodes, whatever episode it is. And
I don't remember which one it is.
If you're unsure, just go watch all of them.
So that too. But we got married, and for how many? I don't know how long it was, but I cried. I cried every night, not because I didn't want to be married to you, but it was like, this is all very
This is a lot.
new. And I'm sleeping in this bed that has not been my bed, or, in this in this dwelling that I've never, and it was never about you. It was about me and the transition. And so I say that to say, my first impression of my in-laws were like, y'all are amazing. I love you all. I don't know if I'm ready to call you mom and dad. But now I do, and I freely do.
Yeah, you have more encounters. You had way more encounters. I had way more encounters with your parents early than you did with mine. My parents are very active, at the time. Very, very active, moving around a lot. So when you seen them, it was probably either at my house, which was, random.
Rare and in passing.
Rare. But at your house, your parents were always home. They home right now as we speak.
Probably.
They at the house right now.
Probably.
So I have more encounters with your parents. Matter of fact, I used to hoop with your pop. You know what I mean? We used to go hoop. You know what I mean? So multiple places. So I remember hopping in this car, coming by just to talk sometimes.
That's also your personality.
Okay.
That's also, you're very personable when you want to be personable.
What does that mean? What is
what
that?
I said.
What does that mean? I can be very personable when I want to be personable.
When you
feels
opt
like a
in,
shot.
it's not a shot. It's a truth. When you opt in and you are like, yep, I'm here, this is what I'm doing, then you are extremely personable. In other spaces where you're like, I got 17 things or 17 tabs open, I want to get home to do what I need to do. I see you, hello, don't care about your name. You won't say that, but I can see it. And you move on and you go and do your own thing.
You do a fantastic job of painting me like just as this.
The truth. Painting the truth. You can't even argue with me about it. So your personality, like I said, is much more personable.
Got it.
Than I think, or at the time that, than mine was.
Right. Mm-hmm. Have no issues talking to adults, or pretty much anyone for that matter. Mm-hmm. I can have a conversation with anyone. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I had way more encounters. So the relationship grew a little more organic than yours did.
And my parents were like, call me like right, first name.
Yeah, right. You know, it's funny, to this day, I still call your father by his first name. And I call your mom.
Yeah.
That's trippy. Have no idea why I did that.
I don't know.
Maybe because I couldn't see myself calling a Puerto Rican man dad. Maybe that's what that was. Maybe in my head, I couldn't, and I don't call my father dad. I call him Pop. You know what I mean? And he's kind of revered in my head, in my heart. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe
I believe that there is definitely something to that.
Call a black woman mom. I can't call a Puerto Rican. Hey. It might be something deep, something lower below the surface.
So anyway, so when I think about before, it was what it was. And present, like I said, we had Dad on the show, right? He is Dad. I call him Dad. And in a whole lot of spaces in our 18, almost 19 years of marriage, he has shown up in ways that feel very paternal. I have an instance I'm gonna share. So I went to Portugal last summer with a friend of mine and her family. And so you were in LA with the kids, and I head off to Portugal. But I stayed a couple of days with Mom and Dad, and I was going to take the train to Newark, where I was going to be flying out of Portugal. That was like the shortest stint, and I was like, "That's the one I'm going to do." Yeah. And I remember Dad being like, "I have to get." He had to get a tooth pulled or something like that. He's like, "But I'm gonna Mom and Dad we're gonna bring you to the train station." So they were gonna drive me to like New Haven or whatever it was, because I was flying from the East Coast. Okay, so we're driving and it's fine. Like nothing feels nerve-wracking. There's nothing like that, Like I had been staying with them for a couple days already. And we get there, and the train, you have to wait for the train. So you just gotta wait on the platform or in the waiting space. So I was like, okay, Dad, like I'm gonna go now. We say our hugs, we do our thing, right? And he turned into like a dad, like for real. And I remember calling him being like emotional about it, because he called because the train hadn't come. Are you okay? Yep, I'm okay. He like scoped out the area. Where are you gonna put your stuff down here? Okay, so he was very like doting in that respect. And then he said, we're just gonna wait until the train actually comes. And then once it comes, we'll drive off. So you're just gonna see us here. And he's giving like front loading all of the things, right? And I sat there and I was just like, look at how our relationship has evolved. Like I said, he has shown up as a dad for me in a lot of different spaces. When I've needed advice about you, or had questions about like how to show up as, not as a mother, but like show up as a parent, like feeling some insecurities, I've reached out to him, and we've had these really good conversations. And then we've had conversations about him and like how he's doing, and just being able to have that connectivity. And I think your parents, again, like I think a huge part of that has evolved from them being like, yes, they're bi-coastal now, like they travel They come out to visit our kids, and so there's a relationship that has been built, and there's these bonds that have been connected. But in that moment, just going back to the train station, I felt like, oh my goodness, he is my dad. And this doesn't discredit my own father, right? It's just showing up and recognizing, like, in love spaces, there is just enough. There is enough. So,
I mean, if you think about it, without sounding too mushy gushy or whatever.
And I'm not trying to be that
in a relationship.
At all.
If you give your truth, if you stick to the integrity, if you give in any relationship, I believe, if it's honest, if it's kind-hearted, if it's meant to be, you know what I mean? You give your best, the other person gives their best, and let God make up the difference.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the way it should be. You know, and I think that's what you're experiencing is, you know, it's organic. It's not awkward, irregular, or weird when you get around my folks because they have adopted you, you know, and to them, this is my daughter. And they also didn't get a daughter.
Right.
So they get to live that, you know what I mean, via you. Which is pretty cool.
Thanks.
Are you Carl Thomas right now? You
I'm
emotional?
not. No.
Okay.
I mean, I am, but I'm not. I'm good. Okay. I hope that wasn't too mushy. I wasn't looking for it to be that. I was just wanting to kind of recount what that experience was. But I think that there are moments like that where we talk about in-laws and we talk about in-loves. And I'm like, I believe that even if you and I hadn't worked out, they're still my family.
Right.
They are still, and vice versa, right? But for me, it takes a little more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Speaking of meet the parents, right? You're like a cat. You know what I mean? He talks about the dog and the cat. Well, what was the cat's name? The cat's name, Jinxie. Jinxie cat, he was like, yo, you got to work for a cat's affection. It doesn't sell out like a dog. You know what I mean? You're more like a cat. You don't just get...
Persuading, yeah.
Yeah, no, not even persuading. I'm not just going to sell out to you because you are whatever your... Yeah, whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. Parent, friend, cousin, reverend, whatever it is, teacher. Lizzie doesn't just sell out. You know what I mean? That's kind of how we both are. We don't just sell out. You got to work for our affection. You know what I mean? Like Jinxie cat and meet the parents. I get it. Yes. I get it. It takes more. It takes more. Yeah, it's interesting. That's not my story with your parents. It's not like I said, I've established a long relationship with them. They know me since I was 14 years old. You know what I mean? So they kind of seen me grow up. And of course my parents have too, but not the way yours have. You know, they see me at every part of my life, you know, from high school to college. You know, I remember your pops coming. Matter of fact, he was at my first college game. You know what I mean? Your pops came to my first college game. Springfield. Yep, Springfield Tech, Manchester Community College at the time.
How you remember those details is wild to me.
I'm an athlete. We don't forget anything. Michael Jordan can tell you how many points he dropped on somebody, whatever night it was in 1990, whatever. Okay. It's just what it is. But yeah, Springfield Tech, he took the trip up. Matter of fact, he was driving buses at the time, so he brought the bus. He was already en route. He's like, I'm already out, so I'm going to just, make my way up there. And I just, my pops couldn't make it, super duper busy. But I do remember feeling like I had an ambassador, in the crowd, and that game was everything for me. You didn't
so
even
I didn't make it
that.
to the game?
I don't believe you were there.
I don't think I was there.
But I do know that game was very important for me because it was the basketball game that was going to kind of determine whether or not I was going to, whether I was going to continue to pursue the basketball thing. So to have an ambassador like your pops there was important. And I had 30 that game.
Oh.
I went off. It was my first college game. I had been hurt for my junior and senior year. It was the first opportunity to I hate to sound so gross, but I got a chance to just release. And, he was there to see it. And he was like, oh, you can really go. So that was cool. You know what I mean? I remember stuff like that. You know what I mean? I remember talking to your mom, when I finally started to, challenge her, so to speak, to give more. Your mom is a woman of very few words. If you don't know my mother-in-law, she's a woman of very few words. She doesn't speak unless spoken to. And if she does speak first, it's because she really got to get it off her chest. And it probably won't be in your favor. She don't play games, and she don't waste minutes. She don't waste time when she's talking. So I remember when I finally started to talk to her, and I realized, I'm like, oh, she's got a little depth here. She's got some wisdom. She's lived a little bit. So she would give me, some tidbits, little morsels. We would laugh about certain things. And I think that maybe she appreciated that from me too, that I was fearless, you know what I mean? But I also, made sure that I would always tell her that I loved her. And to this day, I tell her that I love her, you know what I mean? So there's that, you know what I mean? Your pops is your pops. He is what he is, you know what I mean? You got to be able to handle him. You know what I mean? He's a little guy with big stuff.
Small doses.
Yeah, he is what he is, but it's fearless. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, he's a simple man. He really is, you know what I mean? And he knows I love him, you know what I mean? But it's, like I said, it's totally different. So it's funny how we talk about our parents, our in-laws, but I can't say that they've ever been monster in-laws. Can't say that, I can't say that but I can't say that we can say that. We don't allow people to just bulldoze through our life. That's just not how we get down. So regardless of whether it was my side of the family or your side, you don't just get to just, bust through the door and overwhelm us with your principles, morals, values, and ideas. Like, we are who we are. We're good kids. We were good kids. You know what I mean? But I can't ever say that it became like, I got to get out of here. I can't ever. No, I don't never want them to show up. It wasn't like that. We kind of have both of us. Anyone who knows Lizzie and I, like, whoever you are, you don't get to just show up and do your thing in our world.
I think that that's true for me now. I don't know if that was the case when we first got married, or the case when we first had Cheyenne. Okay. Like, I don't think that I don't know if those things are totally true for me, because I think going into marriage, I felt very insecure about how I was supposed to show up.
How you're supposed to present
as a wife, as a woman, right? Like, I'm super opinionated, and you're right. Like, you can't just like bulldoze over me. But there are certain dynamics. There are certain people who could, and there were certain things that could happen. And so when I think about our situation, and I think sometimes I'm even thinking about like how you want to show up, specifically like my parents. I think, when you're raised with these people, there's a certain way that you want to be for them. Because you want that acceptance. You want them to be proud of you. You want,
right.
And
any healthy child wants to be. Yeah.
Right. Like, that's very normal. But that's when I had to really evaluate my own relationship with my parents. And I think that also has a huge impact on the marriage. Like, what's my relationship like with my parents? And so how much am I willing to just sift through their advice? How much do I need to, like, what types of boundaries do I need to set with them? But there's a lot of reevaluation that has to happen, because I think that, in some ways you take on how you grew up, and you are still their child. What if I told
you that I believe that a lot of this is just organic? It's like the nature of the evolution of a human. Right? You're a baby, then you're a toddler, first grade, middle school, elementary, middle school, high school. And they say by the time you're 7 years old, you are who you are for the most part. But you have to govern yourself appropriately depending on your environment, right? But what if I told you that I believe that all of this stuff was par for the course for anyone, but obviously in your eyes, a lot more emboldened, emboldened. And it's how you take your space, leave to cleave, right? So although you get married, the next day, some people, like us, we didn't live together. We didn't cohabitate. We didn't shack up. That wasn't our thing. So for us, we're still evolving as is any human, right? Evolving, but through the relationship and through our relationship with our parents. So it's interesting how you say that. Like, it wasn't an organic thing for you. You cared about how they perceived you. You cared about how you were, presented for them. And I did too, because it's natural, as I'm saying, for any human. But I think I had already proven that I respected them more than I cared about what they believed about me. So there's always more of a reverence for what the position that my father holds and what he does with his life, and trying not to embarrass or hurt his stature, his status, and what he believes. You know what I mean? But as opposed to, I don't really care about how you perceive me. You know what I mean? But I think that also has to do with being traveling and playing basketball. I had already like pushed through some of these barriers of how people perceived me and how I was presenting, as I am now responding in this piece of my life where I'm trying to piece together who's important to me, because I spent 10 years pushing for something, playing basketball. Here I am 45 now saying, okay, that part of my life is gone, obviously. But now this is a different part of my life where it's important for me to have my tribe, in my core, and to be intentional about who's in that part of my life. So I think what you went through and what I went through was very interesting. We talked about this because we didn't talk about it off air, but I didn't care. I think I respected more than I cared about that stuff. Interesting.
Yes. I think that became really apparent when we decided to move to LA. Like when we decided to move to California, it was like, okay, I'm ready to just be untethered.
And I was like, I've already been.
And you were already accustomed to
being right.
Packing up and moving. He traveled, you traveled for however long that you traveled.
Started when I was 20.
Yeah, for, like different teams and things like that. So you were more accustomed to that. And for me, I was just like, okay, I'm ready, but I don't understand why I'm so ready to leave. And it was because I believe there was a whole lot of influence and I wasn't setting boundaries the way that I needed to because I was trying to show up as their daughter, because I'm specifically talking about my parents, right? Yeah. So I was showing up as their daughter and I wasn't showing up for myself. I wasn't showing up in a way that was like, no, this is what I want to do. I don't necessarily have to run this by you anymore. But I didn't understand that. I hadn't made that connection.
That's where you were.
Yes.
And it's interesting because it's like you said, yeah, you're right. Some people, it's a thing. It should be the natural progression because when you listen to other people, I'm sorry, I'm throwing you off.
You're fine.
But when you listen to like the interviews of like the people that you care about or some interesting people, as we're always ingesting content, it's like JD yesterday. You're talking about Jermaine Dupri and how school just didn't work out. And I'm like, my wife wouldn't understand this piece. But it literally didn't work out because mom was saying school regular, as a mom would do. Dad's in the industry, but bringing this 11, 12-year-old kid with him, on the road as he's managing other acts. But let's go get this homeschool stuff taken care of so when he gets back, he can, jump right back in, only to find out that the school was like, no, we don't even take those credits. Now here is a 13-year-old boy like, oh, this is a problem. You're definitely not wasting my time now. And that's how it happened at 12, 13. It was already, I got stuff to do. You know what I mean? So his process or his piece of moving, but at the same time, he's talking about how he had a left eye, like living in his closet for a little while where mom didn't know. Because he couldn't have a girl in the house spending the night.
I know this story. I didn't watch it, but yeah.
I'm going off the deep end here, but it's like everybody's process of untethering from their family is just different. And for me, I had been untethering and I've been plugging and unplugging
slowly
from Pennsylvania to Connecticut so often that it became like nature for me. Like wherever I lay my hat is my home, so to speak, because I'm adjusted to the idea of I live here now. No, I don't. I live here now. No, I don't. Good or bad, I was conditioned for it. So it didn't hurt my feelings when, like the night you cried when we first moved into our condo and we stayed there as a married couple for the first time. And I'm like, is this chick crying because she don't want to be with me? Or you was like, nah, I'm just not used to being outside of my crib, bro. Like, this is not what I'm accustomed to. And thank God that my ego and my pride didn't overtake the truth, my heart, which is like, oh, this is a new thing for her. And she's got to get through it. And we got through it.
Yes.
We got through it. But it's just interesting how it was because I remember when it was time to go, our first, second, or third conversation when we were 14, 15 years old, when we finally dug in and I'm like, oh, she's got depth. You know what I mean? I can have a conversation with her. And I started to reveal slowly, because I think you told me it was about a year and some change before I revealed everything, about
Right.
my background and, my parents and me moving so much and so and such. I didn't trust anyone with that. So it's interesting. I remember specifically talking about neither one of us truly being in love with living in Connecticut. Living in Hartford. Shout out to 860, made us tough. But we were already 1994, 95, talking about what we would projecting.
We didn't know where we would go.
Right,
but
we had no idea,
but we knew
both
we weren't
knew that
staying.
we were
As adults, when we had
Right.
a choice, when we had the autonomy and the funds and all of the other things to move, we were going to move.
So when it became time for us to leave, for real, we're married now. The basketball thing is over. And now we are truly making plans to execute the vision of moving outside of this little, beautiful, disgusting place called Hartford, Connecticut, right? At the time, we were living in West Hartford.
Yes.
And I still love and miss that place because it was our first, it felt real. It felt real with our baby. That's when we brought our girl home too. But I remember we were making plans. And every now and again, you would introduce the idea of being a little tentative, being a little nervous, about doing it. And like, we're really leaving. I remember that. Not heavy, but maybe we'd be at AC Peterson or going for a walk or be at the mall or at Prospect Pizza. And you'd be like, yeah, we're so far from my family. And I'm like, it's 3,000 miles between them and us. They can come see us. And you were like, how do you do this? How are you able to just do it? I'm like, you just go. I had no idea that I was being so insensitive. Very ignorant. I couldn't empathize. I just knew when it's time to go, it's time to go. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Sincerely.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I think, like I said, just kind of relocating or when we moved to California, I don't know if it was intentional that we moved so far away, but
Shoot, I jokingly say if it was somewhere further, we would have did it. If Hawaii wasn't so far,
Right.
it would have been Hawaii. We were
Right.
trying to get as far away from, not the state, but the way it was a way of life that we were trying to
get away from.
Yeah.
We needed something new.
Yeah.
We needed something new. We knew we needed something new. And I think that there was just a lot of, like I said, for me, I felt like I need to untether. I don't know how else that I'm supposed to do this. And so I need to get away. And some of your insensitivity helped to ease my stress around leaving, because we need structure, we need stability, we need all of those things, and blindly I thought that would just transfer over and we would be able to get that.
This unspoken symbiotic relationship that people have with their parents sometimes. You don't realize, like,
I mean, it was so normal to be like, oh, what's for dinner? Okay, but because my parents were an exit up.
Or 5 streets.
Right. They were so,
Like,
it was so
didn't
close.
have to hop on highway.
Yeah. So you didn't have to really, you have enough, you got enough of us? Cause we coming over, like that. And that's fine that's fine.
Right.
It's fine.
I was trying to get up out of there, bro.
But we knew that there was a lack, not with them, but just in our lives. There was something more that we were looking for. And I mean, like, personally, I'm only going to speak for me. I realized, like, wow, they don't understand the hold that they have on me. They don't understand that whether they've said it or not, there's this level of pressure that I'm supposed to do a certain thing the way that you want me to do that. And so I think that those are maybe some of the cultural influences that happen with in-laws and versus in-loves, right? Like, so when you're in this space and it's like, well, you're going to do it this way because this is what we do. And culturally, I mean, there's a lot of similarities. There's a whole lot of like intermixing and things like that, right? Like just of the norms.
Right. Right. I dealt with that.
But like this hierarchy or this level of like...
I dealt with that.
You dealt with that?
Yeah, like when I went to school. When I went to South Carolina, it was like, real talk, I still love the Lord. I'm not going to church every Sunday. I'm tired today. Today I'm going to rest, as the Bible said I should. I'm going to rest today. And that doesn't
make
discount.
me heathen or
Yeah, it doesn't
right.
discount my relationship. Like, oh, and that took a while because you felt it on Sundays. The conditioning, like, I'm supposed to be getting up and putting on this, that, and the third, and I'm supposed to go. And I'm like, no,
To
I'm not.
drag myself and be dozing
Eventually, it
off
was
and
like, hey, bro, like, this is not, I'm not going. You know what I mean? I'll go next week. You know what I mean? Or I might go the week after that. But let me go. You know what I mean? Like it was, I get it. I know where you're, I get what you're.
What I'm experiencing. So there was just these unsaid things that's like, oh, I'm supposed to be here, or even like having to divvy up. Well, how are we showing up for holidays? Because at the time, we had your parents, and then we have your mom, and then we have my parents, and it was like, okay,
where are we going?
Christmas is one day, and I don't intend to spend 24 hours between the three of you, respectfully. So then there was a lot of organizing that I had to do, but it just felt like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I mean, we're not really talking about it. We're really focused on like parents. So talking about the parental figures, but then add the extended family, add the other, like the siblings and the kinks that they bring to the scenarios. And it's like, oh, you don't really like me, or, all of those things, they play a part in how you move. And then when we had a child eventually, and even that was like, oh, so if she doesn't see you today, then that, not us, if she doesn't see y'all today, then it's like a slap in the face. We've totally disrespected you because it is Easter and you didn't get to see her in her Easter dress.
Let me say this to you, though. Let me say this to you. It's interesting listening to you tell this, because a lot of this stuff was in your head. Not
Probably.
all of it, but a lot of this stuff was not self-inflicted because there wasn't any pain brought. But there's some of these things were just in your mind. And once again, I think for me, it was just like, well, no, once again, leave to cleave. Like, what are our stuff? What are our things? What are, and I'm segueing for you too, because I know where we're going. But what are the things that we want to do on these days? What are the things that we want to hand down to our children that we do at this particular time, for this moment, for this piece of culture, for this whatever? You know what I mean? Like, speaking about specifically July 4th, when we were walking through Burbank and people were celebrating and singing, and I'm proud to be an American. And we were like, I don't feel that way.
It's
and
a
I
cookout.
Looked over to you and I said, do you feel this way about your country? And you said,
no. Nah,
bro. Like,
no,
I don't. And I was like, oh, we got to start doing something else. And then that gave rise to us eventually moving to the South LA and becoming less ignorant about the July 4th and what it represented and how we really weren't included in this, original celebration. And then Juneteenth became a big deal for us. You know what I mean?
Bigger deal.
A bigger deal than 4th of July. So now we don't celebrate, quote unquote, July 4th.
We go away.
Yeah, we leave, but we're not leaving for that.
No, we just leave.
So you're not going to hear me say Happy 4th.
Yeah.
I don't do that. You know what I mean? Juneteenth is what I do. And what that is us leaving to do our own thing. And now we have our own rhythm, and we care less about, I'm like, oh, this is life. This is such as life. A lot of people live within 5-10 miles of their parents, and they do it their whole life.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. There's no judgment. No, we're not knocking it. But we realized that we needed to get away and do our own thing. And next thing you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years go by, and we're like, oh, this is how we move. This is what we do. And blah, blah, blah. And I said a segue because I'm thinking about your notes and how you leave to do what you believe you need to do. You know what I mean? What your new looks like, and how your in-laws, how you include them now as opposed to run to your family.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I like the fact that we're further away now, but I also like the fact that any move that we make being so far from the East Coast has to be thoughtful. There's money, there's tickets, there's stuff like that.
It's just planning with schedules. It's crazy schedules when it's four active folk.
Four people, you know what I mean, who are, and we got to move that way. And sometimes we can do it and sometimes we can't. Sometimes they come this way, but we make the effort. You know what I mean? We're always thinking of our families. On this side, I've seen my in-laws a lot less. You know what I mean? Than your in-laws have showed up to LA. But that's just who they are, and that's fine. I know they love us. But I think it's really, really interesting how we how you start to care less and less. It's really about your tribe. It's your tribe. And going to these funerals as of recently, it makes you realize that, like, did I not show up enough? Did I not call enough? And it's like, no, you're supposed to leave and start your own tribe. You're supposed to go do that. You know what I mean? Pay respect when you need to pay respect. Shoot a phone call every now and again. Christmas, you shoot a text out and stuff like that intentionally. But you're supposed to be in your own space, on your own island, so to speak. You know what I mean? You love them no less.
I also think that, like, when you have children, though, there is something to be said of the other family, the extended family, right? And so a lot of times, specifically with our daughter, when we're having having certain conversations just socially about certain things and dynamics that she's dealing with, she's in high school now, right? How do you deal with this, Mom? How did you do? I had cousins, and she doesn't have that. And so, yes, you're right. Like, you leave and you set up your own thing, and we've done what we can to, in some ways, like, replace, because I think you can't stick around just for that certain thing. And we've had to be really intentional about who it is that we're going to venture off and connect with.
Who our new family is.
Yes, and so for some years we would talk about our family, right? Like, and these people that have been a part of our lives for an extended amount of time and have been able to really, like, support us and like, they're just constants, and that has been the connector, like, them just being there, and so they become the family. But I do think we have to talk about the absence then of the extended cousins. I don't think it's all good or all bad. That's not what I'm saying. But there are just certain elements that we have naturally, or connections that we have that take place from when we were 5 and 6 and 7.
Yeah,
with extended family.
And I get you're talking about in-laws. We want to make sure we come back to in-laws.
Right.
But you're talking about cousins and having that detachment. Those days for a lot of people are gone. And unfortunately, I miss them too. You know what I mean? I was ripped away from my cousin brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? And had to start afresh. And, that's why, shout out to my cousin Billy. He's important to me because he became my first new best friend, in that world. And shout out to my mother for having the thoughtfulness, intentionally to, that's the first person. Let's connect them. Same age, you know what I mean? Like the same things, like to wrestle, like to fight, just boys. Funky, fight for 20 minutes and play for the other, other 40, that type of deal. And our kids don't have that, straight up and down. We don't have a bunch of people making babies. So there's that, our siblings aren't making, kids. So there's that thing that they will miss, but they will also gain some other things, some other experiences that will keep them strong.
Yes.
You know what I mean? When I totally understand, because we definitely grew up. Because you remember all of our aunties and uncles, they all had kids at the same time in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
So we were all the same age within
19
a year
of us, I think. It's 19 of us, and we're like stair steps.
Yep.
And some of us are like, there's 3 of us that are 44 right now, or or about to be 43, like that. And that was just that was a norm.
That's how we got down.
And it does create this really robust type of community. Yeah, definitely. So, but I don't regret any of the decisions that we made to relocate and to set to set certain things. So, but just so just getting back to like the in-laws and the impacts that I think that that they have on our marriage, right? And how we decide or how we determine like our next steps and how we move forward and how we establish our own, right? Was that we had to get really clear about what was important to us. And then setting those boundaries. Because
hey, listen, it's right. You are 100% correct. Talking about it. You know what I mean? Okay, we're heading back east. Let's talk about tickets. Where are we staying? Who are we going to go see? And I remember that the first 2 or 3 times, it was really like, oh, man, we're going to drop the ball somewhere. And I think once we realized that, like, oh, someone going to have an attitude. And you're dealing with some of that right now.
Yes, I am.
Someone's going to have an attitude. But I remember telling you to your face, because it was one of them mornings where we were about to I'm like, we back on home soil. It's actually sunny outside. We grown ups with a couple of dollars in our pocket, and it's 15 minutes everywhere. We're going to do our best. And if our best ain't good enough for some people, they feel like we're neglecting or we're not showing up, whatever. one-way ticket somewhere else. You know what I mean?
But we also came up with an alternative.
Boom, we got smart.
Yes.
How do we do it? How do we handle that?
So we would set it up where like, hey, this is where we're going to be.
Yep.
Because, we just flew 3,000 miles with our children to get here because we love y'all so much and we want to see you. But I don't want to be fed every time that I'm going to somebody's house, in all fairness, right? So what do? We ended up, okay, so this night, here's where we're going to be. Please join us for a meal. It might be at someone's house. Mm-hmm. It might be at a restaurant. It might be at a lounge, depending on what type of company we're trying to keep, if it's just like an adult only type of situation. But we try to be really intentional about inviting the herd.
Who, what, when, where.
And here's where we're going to be. We want to see you. That's why we're sending you the invite. Come out. Don't. Either way, we love you.
Yeah, and we don't feel no way about it.
And we don't feel...
If you can't make it, you can't make it. Mm-hmm. You just can't make it. If you'd have told me last week, I'm like, hey, bro, like, I can't.
You're right.
You're right.
And
but we had no idea where we was going and blah, blah, blah. We were just trying to get across the country with 2 children. Mm-hmm. So here's where we're going to be on this evening from this time to this time. You ain't got to spend your money. You're going to stop by. You know where we at for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. You know exactly where we are for those 3 hours. If you can holler, please do. If you can't, that's
even
fine.
if you just stop by and say, hey,
slap me high five. Like, yo, what up, Steve?
It's good to see you. Embrace.
Give me a hug.
And go.
That's that.
And it's, in some ways, it feels unfortunate that that's what it has been summed to at times. But in the same breath, it's like we all are living life here. Mm-hmm. We're all having to do certain things, and you are important.
Right.
Regardless of whether we talk every day or we don't.
And also in your situation, it works. It definitely works better. It's more your speed. You know what I mean? I'm born in Pennsylvania, obviously, in Reading, but raised in Connecticut. So for me, you remember, there's one point where I believe that every time I touched down on the East Coast, I had to drive 5 hours to Pennsylvania, then 5 hours back to Connecticut and make sure that I caught everybody. And I'm like, this is unsustainable. This ain't going to work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And sometimes it felt like I was putting more effort in than some other people as well, too. Like, I got to put forth all the effort.
Well, we do the things for us.
We do the things for us.
We do them for us.
Right, and I love my people.
But when the pull feels, when the pull feels like, I don't really want to do this.
Well, you know me. Then, as you said earlier, I'm not going to do.
Right, but what I'm saying is you just mentioned going and visiting, driving 5 hours and then feeling like, wait, I worked really, really hard for, and it is what it is. What I guess just getting at it, but understanding or being able to sit back, look at the scenario with clear eyes and go, okay,
right.
Let me get smarter about how I'm moving.
Yep. And be more efficient with my time.
Yep. So setting boundaries, being able to evaluate, right? So being able to evaluate the quality and reciprocity in the relationships that we have with our own parents.
Say that one again, please.
So being able, what I'm getting at is
no. Say it again.
Evaluate the quality and the reciprocity in our own relationship with our parents.
Boom. Edutainment. Mm-hmm. Edutainment. You just help somebody right there. You just help somebody. Mm-hmm. Straight up and down. That is very manageable, simple instructions on how to go about it when things get weird. Mm-hmm. Evaluate. Not judge. Just evaluate. What you do does not harm anyone, but you should not have to divide yourself like a pie. Mm-hmm. It's unsustainable. It ain't right. It ain't going to help you and someone. You will always feel like you're dropping the ball at some point. You know what I mean? When it comes to our in-laws. And you know what I mean? So we do it. Like even last time when I went home, I didn't have a lot of time. So what did I do? I took about 2.5, 3 hours, and I got to the people I could get to. But it was important for my in-laws for me to be there. It was this particular time, let me pull up. I know they home. Right? I know they home. So I pulled up. You know what I mean? Dapped up, kissed, hugged, shot it up a little bit and chopped it up rather and got out of Dodge. You know what I mean? I think they realized that I care. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just for me. It was like, I'm representing us. Mm-hmm. My family isn't here, but you guys are important to me. Mm-hmm. Even though I stay at my folks' house when I pull up. Mm-hmm. That's where we are. Mm-hmm.
Space is okay.
Yeah.
Space is okay with families. Like, it's good to take the space you need. So the next thing that I think we established, because we established norms. That's what I'm really. That's the list that I'm getting at, and I'll reread it. But we got real ironclad with how we move in our marriage. So getting ironclad in like it's us. It's us. I don't want to say us against the world because I don't want it to feel like we have a bunch of enemies. That's not what I'm getting at, right? But how do you feel? How do I feel? How are we going to navigate this? What are you okay with? What are we not? So we're communicating those things and deciding like this is how we're going to move. And not allowing other sources to come in and say something.
An influence.
Yeah. To say something that.
Got it.
Yeah. You didn't have to cut me off.
Got it. I'm sorry. I'm just like when I'm speaking. Sorry, I don't mean no harm to you, but this is real. It happened in real time. When I'm speaking about certain things, I'm fearless. If you're offended, it's your choice to be offended. I'm not here to hurt people's feelings. We're here, Marriage for Grown Folks, to speak about things for people who are looking for us. So, you told me this a while back. I'm not giving a disclaimer for everything that I do and everything that I say on this particular platform. I love who I love, and they know that. And if you don't, that's your business. And
you probably love the ones that think you don't love them either.
Boom, that part. So keep it moving.
Yeah. So anyway, we just got ironclad with that. It's us. This is the decision that we've made. Sometimes he's spearheading that and sometimes I'm spearheading it, but we've had a conversation.
Right.
Submission.
Last episode.
Yeah. So we take into account cultural expectations.
I know if I go certain places with you on certain sides of your family, it's going to be some rice. And I'm cool with that.
Yep.
Right. And on certain sides, you might have to sit through a church service or you might have to sit through one of them. You might have to. Might have to get through one.
A long one.
Right.
Wowzers. Yes. And we make sure to communicate. We communicate often. We communicate specifically, so we get real explicit about the things that we need to talk about. It doesn't have to happen in these short bursts or these really long things, but there's stuff that happens day to day with family, and those things can impact our family. And so we really try to be intentional about
what we give our energy to.
Where we give our energy and how we protect our unit. Whether it be our children specifically or, us as
and we don't play about them.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't play about them.
So those would be I guess those would be the 5 things that I think are norms that we've established and having to be able just to manage some of the more challenging influences of other families.
If my pops was here, you know what he would say regarding the in-laws? My pops would say, this is your life. You know what I mean? We've done our best with you. You know what I mean? Speaking for his child and your parents as well. We've done the best we can do. It's on y'all now. You know what I mean? How you move is how you move. We're hoping that you think of us because we're thinking of you. And we're here, as he says, for support on the sideline. You know what I mean? We already did our best. You go play your game. You know what I mean? If you need me, call timeout and I'm here. You know what I mean? So that's the way I take it. You know what I mean? Just doing the best. Just doing the best we can regarding our in-laws, the people that we love.
Yes. Not every family has that type of support or ambassador.
Patriarch.
Well,
Leader.
I mean, it's a patriarch because because he is he's a man. But right, like we don't.
He's a man.
He's a man. So yes, that makes sense. And some people really do have to negotiate like mother-in-laws that are.
I'm grateful, right?
And they're 20 years into their marriage, and they're still trying. Like, hey.
Yeah. You know what? You know what I believe too. Speaking to that, I don't believe that we have a blind spot. I think both of us see our parents quasi-objectively. So there's no blind spots. I know there's some people who have blind spots.
Right. Good.
So
good point.
Their spouse gets the short end of the stick in some situations. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I love you, you love me, we're supposed to be together. That's not how I feel about that, but you're going to keep moving. you know what I mean? But it's like, I get it. We don't have those blind spots regarding our parents. And as a matter of fact, I have just released a part of my blind spot that could have hurt us.
It could have.
So if I could say anything regarding that, if you are a person who has in-laws or you have family members who might push you somewhere that would hurt your family, you need to check that. You need to check that, because you could hurt yourself or your family or that person that you're trying to help. Talking to myself right now.
You are. Yes.
Interesting.
Growing up, my dad sometimes did have a blind spot in regards to my grandmother. And so I recognize that and am on, not anymore, but was on alert in regards to that, because there were just moments where it's just like,
hey, bro,
Dad, you're not seeing what's happening right here. You're not getting it. And it's tough, because if you have a blind spot, it is in fact a blind spot.
Yeah.
So
it's well intentioned.
Right.
Most of the time it's well intentioned.
But it can create serious rifts in the family. And so I'm glad that you brought that up. I hadn't even thought about it. So it's also like really important to have this level of like empathy, right? And being able to look at it and go, like in hindsight, like, oh, it was really messed up.
Yeah.
But I recognize that you really couldn't.
Right. There's some trauma. There's some trauma there, because we now have we've done some work on ourselves. So we have the vocabulary in the word box to express these things. So we're able to, also have the wherewithal to see things.
Right.
So when we see things, we're like, oh, you're a human. You're a human. You're just older than me, and you gave birth to me.
Right.
So you're still dealing with some of the stuff too. I love you. I empathize. I sympathize, and I pray for you. But it can't affect me.
Right.
In a negative capacity, or my children.
Hence number 3.
Bang.
Getting ironclad with your partner.
Boom. That's
it's us. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, it was, right? So, do you recollect? Is that cool? Can we go into that?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So I want you to think about a small moment in our relationship, or so it could be while we were dating, or even in our marriage. Any small moment where you thought, I really like what that family does. So thinking about my family, or thinking specifically about my family. So it could be my parents, it could be some of the extended family, but just seeing something with different eyes, or having it be something new that was introduced. I feel like if I keep explaining, it's going to sound confusing.
Oh, stop. Just let me think. It's fine. You do that as well. I want you to stop doing that, or consider stop doing that.
Okay.
You think that when people aren't responding immediately, they don't understand you. You're very articulate. Sometimes if they don't get it, it's their fault. I see things very vividly in my mind too. So
okay.
I'm like in my brain.
I was going to say maybe it's just because it's you. No, it's you and I.
I'm flipping through.
Oh, okay, cool.
Where am I going to stop?
Do you mind if I go first then?
Sure.
Okay.
Have at it.
Okay, thank you. So I'll start. Basically, one of the things that you mentioned, we were dating at the time. I want to say we were maybe 15 or 16.
Babies.
Yes, we were babies. And you said, I have to go because we're having a family meeting. And I was like, a family meeting? What? Y'all do that? There's democracy in this family. We're told what we do. And so anyway, I'm thinking about that because I'm 15 or 16 years old thinking wow. And that if I marry him, I marry into a space where opinions always mattered, opinions were heard in my home. They didn't necessarily matter.
Got it.
They'll listen. Okay, got that off? Great.
Got it.
How you feeling? Good?
You good?
Okay, bet. Go in your room now. So for y'all to be having a family meeting, I'm like, that only happens on TV. But it was reassuring. It was refreshing. I know I wasn't thinking about marriage at that point, but we had always talked, like, we've had candid conversations as teenagers that I remember talking about our adult life.
Yeah.
And so hearing you say, like, I have to go because we're having a family meeting, I was just like, only white folks do that. But that's really cool, and I would love to adopt that.
Listen, we didn't get everything right in our house, you know what I mean? But I can't say that there weren't efforts in spurts.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I remember the family meetings. I also remember there was a moment where Tuesdays was family night, where we would go to Pizza Hut in East Hartford and all come home with the bubble guts because we had no business eating all that cheese. I do remember these things. I do remember, you know what I mean? There wasn't a lack of effort. I think a lot is lost in translation as my father started to move up the ranks with the church. I think a lot was lost in translation.
He was busy.
Yeah, he was busy. And I think, maybe a lot was lost in that or missed, but I don't think there was an intentional, and there's a level of intentionality that was there.
Okay.
In spurts. You know what I mean? Okay. For me, I'm going to go back to when your grandmother was alive.
Oh,
and
Grandma Lou.
The cookouts. Oh. So I remember you being so nervous the first time you invited me, and I've probably been to at least 10 of them, right, over the span of when y'all was real tight, when the matriarch was alive and it was organized and, they was still on what street was that? What street was it? Mansfield? No, I'm sorry. Wilson, which is southwest, right? That's southwest. But I remember the first time you was so stressed out. And I'm just like, I don't think she realizes that every personality that she has on this black side of her family, I've already encountered with my family. I've already encountered. And you didn't know that. So I got there and I just remember laughing with your aunts, talking trash with your grandmother. But I remember also, I think she was impressed by it and I wasn't trying to impress her, but it was important for me to make sure that she had what she needed. Did she need water? Did she need something?
Who's she?
Your grandmother.
Oh, okay.
It was important for me, as the matriarch there, because your grandfather passed. So she, even though I'm not really sure who organized this, it's probably your Uncle John.
Probably wasn't my grandmother.
Probably your Uncle John, right? But I remember saying, like, I need to make sure that her plate is straight. Like, yeah, somebody getting her a plate, somebody whatever. But nonetheless, while all of this stuff was happening, it was the conversations, whether they were low vibrational, high vibrational, they were high vibrational, whether they were aspirational or whether we was just talking trash. A little game with the kids on the side, a little baseball with the wiffle ball that you get from the 99-cent store. It ain't gonna work tomorrow, but you get it. The smell of the grill. Your cousin who will remain unnameless with a new girlfriend every single time we pulled up. But also regarding your immediate nuclear family, watching. You probably didn't see this, but there was a level of organization because they were generally the ones that somebody left early. It's usually your pops who will leave early, but he spoke his piece. He ate, whatever.
Mingled.
But there was a level of communication that would happen with those two that you probably weren't even privy to, that when it was time to move a certain way, well, who are the kids going with? Is Angela coming with me? That happened really, really quickly. Even though it's a very small piece of the pie, I remember that. And I appreciated that. It didn't matter whether I knew the ins and outs of how in-depth and how great their relationship was or wasn't. It didn't matter. It was a nuclear family inside of the big family in a moment, still organized and maintaining communication. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Awesome.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That
small stuff I was watching. You know what I mean? Also, him being a fireman and her working for the state. They got home at the same time every day. You know what I mean? I'm serious.
We were
so erratic with our time. You know what I mean? It was always things up in the air. We were moving a certain way. And I like the structure that was in the house, the square of it.
Yes. My father had a, like, it was 3 days on, 3 days off, nights, days. It was, so it wasn't quite the same time every day, but
Fridays,
a general
your mom
idea.
went grocery shopping.
And bought pizza.
Bought pizza. Yep, every Friday was pizza. What pie, whether you're ordering it or whether you're getting one. There was that type of stuff that I seen.
In some ways, we've adopted that in our own
Absolutely.
in our own life.
Absolutely.
With our
we
children.
keep things from our family. We keep certain things.
Absolutely.
You adopt certain things.
That's a good takeaway, right? Yeah. Because even in challenging spaces and things like that, when you're dealing with in-laws or in-loves or whatever it is that you want to refer to them as, right? There's some really key things that you can take and you implement.
All right.
And you put your own spin on and, and all of that. And so I appreciate you saying that, because I would say, like, my parents are probably a little more challenging than yours to acclimate to, like, us being married and seeing us as adults and all of those other things. But we can then take all of that routinization that they have, like this, and say, oh, no, I'd like to add that to our repertoire as well.
Are you setting me up for the converse, which would be things that I didn't like?
I mean, you would talk about it. I wasn't going there.
Okay, I wasn't
going there.
I'm like, she probably has a converse. Like, well, do you recollect things that you wouldn't take from your in-laws that kind of turned you off?
Yeah. I don't want to do that, because I do want to preserve relationships and things like that.
No, I'm not being funny. I thought that you were coming for me.
I was not. No. Again, like I love all of them, and in very different ways. And so we don't need to get into that.
Okay.
I think the blind spot was probably the biggest challenge that we could talk about. That it's like, and here's why we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
In therapy.
Oh, in therapy.
That could have turned out bad, bro.
Yeah.
Could have turned out way worse.
Yes.
And that's when I realized I had a blind spot.
Oh, I wasn't talking about you.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm not talking about. I'm just saying in general. Like, there are blind spots. I'm sure that you could come up with one. I think personally, like, in hindsight, I think my blind spot was not. It wasn't necessarily with my parents, but it was just how I would really cater to the family that I'm really close to. And so thinking about, like, my relationship with some of my cousins and, like,
Black side or the Puerto Rican side?
Both sides. And wanting to, like, in some ways compromise what we might have going on, because I wanted to make sure they were good.
Right.
Because that level of help or whatever the case may be. And so then not seeing, like, the impact that like, no, we're not, we can't do that right now. A, we can't afford it if that's the issue.
Yeah.
Or B, this doesn't quite align with where we're trying to go. So I mean, I think we all have blind spots, and I was glad that you brought that up, because that wasn't in our notes. And
got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, there it is. I don't have monster in-laws. Yeah, I don't have monster in-laws. I love them. I love both of them. You know what I mean? They know that. They know me since I was 14, 15. Matter of fact, that's another episode. I kind of utilized them to make sure I got you back. Kind of weaponized. I weaponized my relationship with my in-laws, or my soon-to-be in-laws, to come for you. Strategy, bro. Concept, idea. Delegation and execution.
Cool.
So, once again, thank you for being here with us. This has been Marriage for Grown Folks, talking about our in-laws. If you subscribe to this beautiful, wonderful thing that we call marriage, the institution that is everything that you can think of, you've came to the right place. We appreciate your time. If you like this, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. If the comment is trash, rethink it and don't leave it. Appreciate you guys. We love you. See you next time.